Okay, so this was Monday's lesson where we talked about the C being hard versus soft. And the three letters you have to remember are E, I, and Y. If an E, I, or Y comes right after a C, it forces that C to make its soft sound, which is the S sound. Otherwise, that C is always going to make the K sound. So the rule for C is it always says unless an E, I, or Y comes right after it. That's the easiest way to remember that rule. C will always say K unless an E, I, or Y comes right after it, and then it will say the S sound. So from our extra practice from last time, number 1 is Cluto. Cluto. Number 2, Clompic. Clompic. Number 3, Sesampo. Sesampo. 4, if you have any questions, let me know as I go. Number 4 is Simprim. Simprim. 5, Chromop. It's tempting to say chromop because M-O-P spells mop, but when O comes to the almost end of a multi-syllable word, it changes to the schwa sound and says So that technically should say chromop. Chromop. Number 6, Sitim. Sitim. 7, Cronstissim. Nope. Yeah. So I's in the middle break the tap 2 rule. I's in the middle 99% of the time are going to say I. I's are kind of a rule breaker. If it's in the middle syllable, if there's a syllable after it and a syllable before it, that I is almost always going to say I. So this word would be cronstissim. Cronstissim. Number 8, I mean. Coptricity. Coptricity. Number 9, Siptrific. Siptrific. Number 10, Klimpompo. Klimpompo. Those were not easy. Today's lesson is going to be almost an exact duplicate because we are talking about the G making its hard and soft sound, which follows the exact same rule as that C. So let's go over to today's lesson. For this plane above me to go over. Okay, how many sounds? Now, these are going to be kind of hard. This first one is anyway. Even debating if I even want to, I will. I'm going to give it to you. How many sounds in surgeon? Surgeon. There's a schwa almost to the end. Make sure you get that sound and put it in the chat. How many sounds? Surgeon. There's a lot more letters than sounds in surgeon. It has S, J, N. 5 sounds in surgeon. You spell it like this. See that? This is why the G says J, because there's an E after it, which is in our lesson today. And that O is almost to the end of a longer word, so it's making the schwa sound. So this E's job, by the way, silent E is never there for no reason. It always has a job. This E's job is just to make the G's make its soft sound, and this O is changing to the schwa sound. And we're going to learn next month, says So this word S J, N has 5 sounds. Okay. How many sounds in cookies? Cookies. Put it in the chat. How many sounds in cookies? And just searching. It sounds like somebody might be unmuted. Take a quick check and see if you're muted, just so that we don't talk over each other. Feel free to unmute if you have a question now. Okay, so cookies, yes, has k, e, z, 5 sounds. And I'll explain to you what's happening there. Let me type this one out also. So you'll notice the C makes its hard sound because the next letter is not an E, I, or Y. This OO can say oo, as in boot, and it can also say as in look. And we don't have a letter in our English language that represents that sound. We don't have a grapheme that represents In the dictionary, it looks like in the pronunciation guide, it looks like a little U with kind of little wings with, I think, a couple dots on the top, but we don't have a letter in our language that represents the sound. But that is the sound that it's making in cookies. I'll write that again. So this C is making its hard sound. The 2 O's are making the sound. The K is there for this word has all sorts of little goodies around it to make the sound, because if a C was there, it would say kussy, because C's followed by an I make the soft sound. So that the only time you're ever going to see a K is if the next letter is an E, I, or Y, if you want the K sound right there. And it used to be, yeah, I can draw the sound. It used, the root word is cookie. Anyway, I'll just tell you the S is making its vibrating sound, Z, because the letter before it also vibrates. Okay, so Amy wanted to know the symbol for the sound, and I'm not sure if this is it, but I think this is it. It's either this or that. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that, because I did not prepare that little part before I came to class. I'm not sure if that's right or not, but I think it is. Okay, moving on. How many sounds in giraffe? Careful on this one. Giraffe. Yeah. Giraffe has a GI. So that I is going to make the G say its soft sound, J. So the sounds are J, IR says and we're in that next month. Only 4 sounds in giraffe. There's a lot more letters. There's only 4 sounds in giraffe. So you guys are getting pretty good at that. Those were not easy. Those were all a little difficult. And not everybody got them right. I would say maybe about half and half, but everybody was real close. So good job on those. Okay, so our rule for the day is G will always, just like the C rule from last time, G will always make its hard sound. Oh, look at that. A big old typo right there. I need to fix that. So this is supposed to say G. G is supposed to say G. G will always make its hard sound G, unless it's followed by an E, I, or Y. If so, it will make its soft sound J. So the hard sound for G is G. The back of your tongue kicks against the back of your throat. G, G. It's a very short sound. It's not long. It's not ga, because we don't want that on there. It's as fast and quick as you can make it. G. And the short sound is j, like a J. Soft sound, not short. J. And it will make its soft sound if the next letter is an E, I, or Y, just like the C. So let's go ahead and try these. I will mark mine on my end. Try yours. So here I know that my G is going to make the hard sound of G. Here's a vowel. I already know that it's going to make its short sound, ah. And when you make that short sound, ah, really drop your jaw so that that sound comes out right, correctly. Ah. I know that it says ah because the next two letters are consonants. And O's at the end always make their long sound O. So when I pencil read this word, I have G, R, A, P, O, grappo, grappo. Now there are all sorts of errors on this one, isn't there? Let's make this a G. Go ahead and fix on your end. Sorry about that, guys. And go ahead and do yours. So if we pencil read this word, this O is going to say ah because the next two letters are consonants. O's at the end always say O. So when you pencil read this word, we have G, L, A, T, O, glotto, glotto. Yeah? Okay. Susan. Okay, number 2. This G is going to make its hard sound G because the next letter is not an E, I, or Y. G will always say G. G, G, G. That's its most common sound, unless the next letter is an E, I. The only time it's going to make its soft sound J. So this O is going to say ah because the next two letters are consonants. Y's at the end usually make the long E sound. So if I pencil read this word, it would say G, R, A, N, S. So look at that, a soft C because there's a Y after it. And then E. So we have grand C, grand C, grand C. Try yours. So when you pencil read this word, we have G, L, A, N, B, E. Before I blend that, I want you to really listen to the sounds of each of those letters because a lot of adults and kids have grown up learning the incorrect sounds of the letters. So, and that can make reading difficult. Incorrect sounds meaning they're longer than they should be. Because if you extend a sound longer than it should be, then more sounds get added on. For instance, the sound for G, like I said, is not ga. That's two sounds, g and The sound for N is not na, it's n. The sound for B is not ba, it's b, b. So pay attention to the very clean sounds of these. G, oh, it's not la, oh, ah, on your N, your tongue is stuck to the top of your mouth and it doesn't move. B, and E. So when you pencil read that and blend it, it's glonby, glonby. If there was going to be a hard part in that word, it would be this letter right there, glonby. All right, so number 3, I see we have an E after our G, which is going to make that G sound like a J. When you see a letter in slanted lines, this, that means sound of. When you see a letter in slanted lines like that, it means it's the sound of a J. This E, let's see. It's going to make its long sound because one of the next two letters is another vowel. This I is in the middle, almost always make their short sound. And O's at the end make their long sound. That was a lot of rules, so feel free to stop me if I'm going too fast. This E is going to say E because there's another vowel, one or two doors down. This I says I because I is in the middle. I want to say always, but almost always say I. And O's at the end always say O. So when we pencil read this word, it's J, E, O, I, S, R, O. I'm going to go one sound at a time. G, Geel, Geely, Geelis, Geelist, Geelister, Geelistro, Geelistro. That one's a tongue twister. Geelistro. This is going to be the hard part right here. Geelistro. All right, try yours. I'll be quiet while you work. Okay. So when we pencil read this word, stop me if I'm going too fast. We have J, I, I, S, B, O, J, Jim, Jimmy, Jimis, Jimisb, Jimisbo, Jimisbo. How'd you do? Please put in the chat how you did on that one. Jimisbo. Did you get Jimisbo? Jimisbo. It's all right. Don't worry. Okay, good, good. Yeah. It's hard. It did take longer. Yeah. Okay. Not too bad. All right. Last one. Here I have a soft G. It's going to sound like a J because the next letter is an E, I, or Y. This E is going to make its long sound because there's another vowel two doors down. This E is going to make its short sound because the next two letters are consonants. Y's at the end almost always make the long E sound. So the sounds are J, E, O, S, T, R, E. Let's go one sound at a time. G, Geel, Geele, Geeless, Geelest, Geelester, Geelestry, Geelestry, Geelestry. Make sure you really enunciate this T and R. Don't let it turn into a chur, which is natural, but it's better to pronounce each sound as it was intended. So instead of Geelestry, really pronounce that T, Geelestry. Okay, let's try yours. Soft. Oh, I'll be quiet while you work. Blair, if they were all too easy, then I wouldn't get to see you twice a week. So I have to make some of them pretty hard. Okay, So number 4, we have j, e, m, p, e, s, o, e. Any questions on that so far? Ooh, nice, Ryan. Okay, so here we have Gempestly. Gempestly. Well done. Gempestly. Gempestly. That one's a little easier to say. Gempestly. That L is going to be the tricky part. Gempestly. Well done. Okay, hop on down to our extra practice ones. And was there any that you wanted me to do with you before I sent you off on your own?